and welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm making a shaker card as part of a video hop with the Handmade Happiness group on Facebook. And a group of us got together each month and we call it Card Hoppin, and we challenge ourselves with a theme, and we usually have 2 techniques that we can choose between. So this month's theme is winter, and the technique we could use was either paste or embossing powder, and I'll be using paste. So I'm making a shaker card. So right now I'm doing the panel that'll go under the shaker card, and I'm doing kind of a nighttime sky, and since it's winter I want to make it kind of gray, so I'm using Stormy Sky. Now I'm doing my top panel, and this one I cut with Fawn stitched rectangle die to give a stitched edge around it. And the bottom one I just cut 5.5 by 4 1/4 since the edge won't be showing. I'm starting off again with my Stormy Sky. Now I'm just getting my stamp I'm going to put over the window, and this is just a branch and the circle I'm going to use to cut my window, just to see where that's going to be. I want that to be the lightest area of my card. And I'm hoping that it'll look kind of like the moon shining behind the branch. And the branch is just from a Fawn stamp set called Nutty or Nice, which is discontinued because that was part of a special release for Simon Says stamps, for their stamped timber. Next, I'm going to go around the edges with chipped sapphire to make it a darker sky. And I did want to kind of put some purplish blue in here, but I didn't have any. That was kind of the bluish purple. Everything I had was reddish purple. And that's because of the mix that I'm going to use for my shaker element. Then I'm going around the edges with Distress Oxide Black Soot. And that's to make it look like a nighttime sky. And then I keep going over the card with all 3 colors until I get the blend that I like. I'm using Bristol Smooth Cardstock for the blending because that blends really well. And I'm just using a blending tool with a dome foam edge. Now that one's from scrapbook.com, and then I know since then Tim Holtz has come up with his own. And I do find that these are easier to use than the original foam that used to come on these things. I don't get a totally smooth blend, but I want it to look kind of wispy, like there's clouds, and the sky with the moon shining wouldn't be just all one solid color. So I do want to have kind of that look. Also, I decided I was going to do stars because I like that look better than the snow, because my snow stencil wasn't really the right proportion to everything else. And also I think a nighttime sky that's kind of cloudy and dark and owls kind of remind me of winter. Also, that's actually the only time I've ever seen an owl is in the winter time. I do hear them in the summer, but I never see them. And I think that's because there's no leaves on the trees in the winter, so it's easier to spot them. Now I'm just going to cut out a circle from my panel, so that'll serve as our window. And I'm just showing you could use the circle that cut out underneath, but I'm going to pop this up with some fun foam, which I use double-sided tape on. So I'm going to cut a hole in that. I'm going to use this one as a guide to put where my other circle is going to be. And then the fun foam, I'm using a larger circle so that the foam doesn't show underneath the window. And the thing with doing the foam is when you die cut, it does kind of squish it, so it does stretch out a little. So that's why I'm going to use a little bit bigger circle. You'll see I'm having a little trouble getting it on my platform, and that's because it's a magnetic one, which is supposed to help hold the dies, but the magnets kind of move the dies, so you end up having to tape it. But I use this quite a bit anyway because I have a Big Shot Plus, which has a very large platform, and I find the littler one easier to use for most of my die cutting. So I might eventually see if I can get a smaller platform like the regular one to use with my machine. Now, I ran the fun foam through my die cutting machine twice just to make sure it went through, and I was actually surprised that it went through all the way. I thought I would have to do it again, but it went through on both sides. And this is just Elizabeth Craft Designs double-sided tape that I put on my fun foam. Now, since it's got squish, you can see it's a little too large, so I will trim that down with my guillotine trimmer. I'm just using a stencil from Echo Park that stars, and I'll list all the different products I'm using below. I know sometimes these are discontinued quite a bit, but a lot of companies have made star stencils, so I'm sure you can find one from somewhere. And then I'm using Nouveau Glacier Paste, and this is their silver, I think, gunmetal. And what I like about this is it goes on like butter. It's a lot easier to put on than the embellishment mousse. And also, it doesn't seem to dry out as much as the embellishment mousse. However, I do keep the press and seal over it, just like I do for my embellishment mousse, just to be sure it lasts longer. Of course, the fun part of stenciling is taking off the stencil and seeing how it looks when you take it off. And now we have a nighttime sky. You want to make sure when you use anything like embellishment mousse or glacier paste that you wash off your stencil and your tools right away, because it will get stuck to it and then you will have a hard time getting it off. Then I'm just going to let this dry while I get my stamped images ready, and then I'll show you how to assemble the card. I already colored and cut out my images, which actually there's only 2 of those, and some other embellishments I'm going to use. Now I'm using some score tape and putting that around the window, and then I just cut some packaging to use as my window. I don't go and buy acetate. There was a little bit of acetate hanging over the edge, so I'm just using my scissors to cut that off. And then I'm just going to peel off one side of my Fun Foam double-sided tape and put my front panel on top of that. Then I'm just using some glue to adhere my back panel to the card base. And here you can see how I tried to use some purple for my back panel, but it was a reddish purple, so then I switched to the Stormy Sky. If you know which kind of distress ink color is a purple blue, let me know. Then I'm just going around my foam with an embossing buddy, which is really just putting powder around it so that it'll get rid of some of the stickiness, so hopefully the shaker bits don't stick to it as much. The mix I'm using is from Buttons Galore and More, and it's called Sparklets Embellishments, and the mix is called Sailor Sky, and I really like it because it's got these little tiny, almost like glitter blue stars, and it has turquoise and clear white, looks kind of like ice, and white sequins. It's really pretty. I'm putting some glue on the back of my double-sided tape. I've seen several different crafters do this on different videos. It gives you a little bit of wiggle time as you adjust your panel, so if you get it on crooked. Now, this other piece of paper I cut from some silver cardstock that I got from Hobby Lobby, which is Paper Studio, and it's their silver metallic cardstock. On the back it looks craft. So I cut this out with a circle type star die. I really like it. It's called from Avery Allen's first time I've used it. It's called a star frame. I bought this at a local stamp store. Well, somewhat local. It's only about 15-20 miles from my house. Next, I'm just going to glue on my sentiment, which I used a Lawn Fawn banner die and their sentiment from the Simple Sentiment set. And I just did Thinking of You because I don't have too many generic cards. But the good thing about this design is it could be a birthday card, a holiday card, or just a general card. So you can make it whatever you need to be just by changing the sentiment. And then I'm going to pop up the tree branch and the owl above the window with some foam squares. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a like. And also, if you're not a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. I have the list of everyone participating in the description below. Please hop along to the next person on the hop for more inspiration. I'm sure there will be a lot of good ideas of how to use embossing powder and paste. And there are a lot of talented people on this hop. I want to thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.